Yes, so over to you, Peter.
Sure.
There's a small and select band, at least to start with, and Peter
Yeah.
helps. To be quite honest with you, I'd probably um, ask Peter to contribute if it was just me and him, because I learn a lot in these seminars, and I find them very useful. And it's part of the sort of back project. We've got a lot going on in AI, checking files automatically. And so AI is topical for us, and we're keen to promote it, just generally speaking, to everyone else. And in a quick survey we did just internally, I mean, there's 8 people work for that. I think we all worked out we, roughly speaking, save about 8 hours a week using open AI, which is 20 quid a month each. Just extraordinary. Over to you, Peter.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, if the group stays this size, really happy just to take questions as they go. I have obviously an idea of where this session's going to go, but I don't mind if we if there's something you're particularly interested in, we can spend longer on that and less on something else. So, topic of today: enterprise options in AI. Let me get on the presentation. Just to sort of highlight where we've come from, and I can't remember if you've been on these courses before or these calls. In the summer, we started off with sort of what is AI and machine learning, and then we spent 2 workshops really going through the common, easy to use AI platforms. These are your ChatGPTs, your Google Geminis, Anthropic Claude, those kind of things. At the last workshop, we had a look at actually how can you prompt these models more intelligently to get outputs that are better for you. And I guess in the story of these webinars, you're hopefully at a point where you're thinking, yes, this is well worth my investment. It can do a lot for me or my business. Oh, so what sort of enterprise options do I have? Because anyone can sign up with an email, but what kind of protections does that give you? And I've hinted on that throughout these talks. We're now going to have a look at some specific enterprise options that are common in definitely large companies, and then smaller businesses would also consider them. The next 2 webinars, just so you're aware, what are these things? AI agents that are being talked about more and more and more. And then finally, we'll be looking at strategic AI. So if you're putting in a plan for your business of how to bring in AI to your employees, what are the kind of things to consider? Okay, so agenda for today, let's have a look at what the advantages of actually having enterprise AI are. What types of enterprise AI exist? What is right for you and your business? And then we'll have a deeper look at really this embedded AI, which is key to sort of enterprise AI. And we're going to have a look at Microsoft Copilot, because that is the most common one. Show you all the features, or a lot of the features that Copilot can offer you. If we've got time, we may have a prod into Google's equivalent of enterprise AI, and we may have some comments on the future, and that should be it. So why should you use enterprise AI? So if you're using AI intelligence for work at your business, you really need enterprise grade security. So what this means is effectively the messages you send from your computer to the AI service, number one, are secure in transit. They can't be intercepted by a bad actor. It means the company that you're actually using to process your AI tools is looking after those messages securely and that data securely to various standards. It means that they're not selling your data, they're not retraining their models on your data, so your data cannot really get leaked. That is probably one of the key things with making sure you have an enterprise AI license. Now, the other advantages are improved collaboration within your business. So if you're not a one-man band, if you have multiple employees, enterprise AI licenses often give you tools to sort of connect your AI products across your employees. Oh, what's going on with this? Okay. Works with your data. A lot of enterprise AI solutions will be able to connect to your local file stores. So maybe your SharePoint, maybe your Outlook. And in doing so, they're likely to come up with solutions that are better for you because they have more context about you and your business. A lot of enterprise AI tools will embed seamlessly into the products that you already work with. These are things like Excel and Outlook. Microsoft Copilot, for example, provides that AI in the tool that you already use. ChatGPT, for instance, you can have an enterprise AI version of it, but that is not an embedded platform. It doesn't sit inside the tools that you're likely to already use. And finally, centralized management. More important, I think, if you're a bigger organization, but a lot of enterprise licenses will allow you to view what your employees are doing, how often they're using your AI tools that you're possibly providing them. So those are the main advantages of why you would, as a business, consider using an enterprise AI solution as opposed to everyone just using personal licenses. Okay. I'm going to break down the types of enterprise AI that exist out there. So at the very top, we've got the infrastructure and enabler platforms. And I don't expect this audience, well, actually, apart from Charlie, because he is effectively a software owner, to really be dealing with this infrastructure enabler platforms. These are your cloud providers that provide all your raw AI tools. They require quite a lot of dev input. You would need software engineers, data engineers to be working with them. But there are enterprise AI licenses at that level. Then I'd say the next level up is your system level embedded AI. And this is what we're focusing on today. So these are the AI tools that are embedded in lots of the software you already use. And this is things like your Microsoft Copilot and your Google Gemini Enterprise. Now, you can get enterprise licenses with all those standards like the security standards and the trust across your general purpose AI platforms. And a lot of businesses go for this option. So you can have an enterprise ChatGPT license, an enterprise Claude license. What you're getting there is that enterprise security, but it's not embedded in the software that you already use daily. Then you can go a level up and you can have AI embedded in specific apps. So you have like a CRM solutions and general sort of note managers. They may have some AI tools in there and you can get enterprise licenses there. And then you can have domain specific AI tools that will have enterprise security, and that would be companies like BAT. There will be that security arrangement, but it's definitely not embedded in your Windows architecture. Okay, so really today we're going to be looking at this system level embedded AI. Do ask me questions at any point, okay? So the very first thing, if you're choosing an enterprise AI solution, have a look at the documentation. Most of these platforms have what's called trust portals. We could have a quick look at OpenAI's one, for instance, which I'm sure Charlie has done because he has for his company. I believe you said you have ChatGPT Enterprise. Here, the company should provide all the documentation about what they're doing. So here in OpenAI's one, we've got various certificates that effectively certify that they're looking after your data. Things like SOC 2, ISO 27001. But they also have things like here GDPR, a very important one in the UK. So if you were to click on that, it will give you information on how a ChatGPT enterprise license is GDPR compliant. And there is actually a link here that you have to click on to ensure that you have a data protection agreement with OpenAI. So these are the kind of things that the enterprise licenses should give you, but it is your responsibility to check if you are going down this road. Okay. So back to the presentation. And I have here the links for the others. You can easily access them from Google. But the key things you're really looking for are that, I think in the UK, the GDPR, if you're working with any client data. You may want to have a look at where they're processing your data, if data sovereignty is a concern. So is that data being processed in the US, or do you need it to be processed within maybe UK boundaries? And the final point, Yeah, things like SOC 2 and ISO 27001 effectively say that they're looking after your data securely. Yeah. So we're now going to have a look at really what is system level AI and go into what Microsoft Copilot can do for you. But do you have any questions so far? No? Okay. So Microsoft Copilot. Out of interest, I know we've only got 3 on the call. Does anyone have Microsoft Copilot as their sort of enterprise AI provider?
It keeps trying to insert into my Microsoft account and keeps popping up, but we don't actually use it.
Yeah, it gradually seems to be, if you don't sign up for it, you seem to be getting more and more Copilot without having to pay for it, which is not bad, to be honest. But let's have a look at what Copilot can do. So there is a free version of Copilot that anyone who has a Microsoft license can use. So I actually do not sign up to a Copilot enterprise account. I have a Copilot business account, and therefore I can, if I am signed into my business account, I can go to 365 Cloud, Microsoft Chat, and I will have a window a bit like ChatGPT. Now, what is key here is this green shield, which tells you have enterprise data security. That is the same standard of security that you would expect if you're saving files in SharePoint, for instance. Okay. If you have an enterprise license, there will be actually a button here that will say if you want to be on work mode or web mode, but we don't need to go into those details. What you're looking for is just to ensure that shield is there. And what that means is, therefore, if you were to ask a prompt about putting some client data in or writing a message with people's names in, then it's all sort of GDPR compliant. And again, you can have a look at Microsoft Docs on what level of enterprise security they give, but it's usually the best you can get. So that's how you would access. Let me bring down Edge. There we go. That's your free version. You can get this Microsoft Copilot add-in. Now, what that does is it will bring Copilot into most of Microsoft's apps itself. It'll bring it into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, although now it actually comes in there without an enterprise license, as we'll see. But it brings it into Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Outlook, and pretty much all of their services. And there can be uses for it to be there. And then the other thing that you can get from Copilot is this place called Copilot Studio. Now, this enables you to make custom AI tools for your organization without having to really write computer code to get there. So it's like a GUI, a graphical user interface, to try to make specific Copilots or specific AIs. So if you want a specific AI that is for writing client emails and you want it always to have this tone and you want it to reference these documents, you can do that in Copilot Studio, and you can do a hell of a lot more there. So these are almost, you've got different layers of Copilot. In terms of getting that enterprise add-on, it's similar to ChatGPT. Looking at the US conversion, it looks about £24 a month. One of the irritating things at the moment about a Copilot license is whilst it's given price per month, you have to sign up for the year. Whereas ChatGPT, Anthropic, Claude, Gemini, Google, you actually sign up for the month. And if you don't like it, you can come out of that. Data grounding is quite a key concept of Microsoft Copilot. As I said, all of that data that Microsoft has on the system, on SharePoint, in your emails, on those Word documents, it can access all of that to help it give you the most intelligent answer. And I've already mentioned the in-app integration. Okay.
Hey,
yes.
So we've recently revised our website, and we've got a tone of voice on our website documents. So basically, I could put that tone of voice into this Copilot, and then all my communications would be checked against that tone of voice, the same as the website.
Yeah, so if you've got a way that you like writing, you could do this through a custom GPT in ChatGPT, but equally you're right, in Copilot, there's simple ways to do it. And there's sort of simple ways that are a little bit, they may add a couple of seconds each time, or you could use Copilot Studio and set something up that you could go there every time, type your email, say, do it in the voice that I want, and it will do it for you. And that's a great use case.
So I just do that, give it that instruction once, and then it keeps going until I tell it otherwise.
When we come to the Word demo, I will point out how you would make it work in Outlook if you had this.
Yeah.
Okay. So Microsoft Graph integration. This is how Microsoft say they try to connect all of their AI intelligence with all of their apps. So what it does is you log into Copilot here when my mouse is, and you write a prompt. And that prompt could be, I'm drafting an email to Jerry. What we're going to ask Jerry, following up on the introductory meeting we had about mortgages. That's the prompt. Now, at this point here where my mouse is, Copilot tries to do an assessment on what tools and data it will have available to help answer or draft your prompt about, I need to send Jerry an email about following up on our last meeting. So what it's likely to do, and I say likely because it's never certain, is it will go in, it will decide, it will go to here to Microsoft Graph, and it'll try to pull things from your Outlook, from your email. It may do a search for any communications you've had with Jerry. It may actually go into your Microsoft Teams and see if there was a recording or any notes from that meeting that you may have had with Jerry. It may have a look into SharePoint to see if there's any folders, maybe client folders that are to do with Jerry. It then pulls, so once it's gone out to these various services, it then pulls that information back and then asks, well, what was the initial prompt? I need to draft an email to Jerry following up on our meeting, but now I have all of this information to help me. And therefore the idea is that the final output has been improved with all of this extra information that Copilot has found within that Microsoft architecture.
So you say about SharePoint.
Yeah.
Is that also, well, excuse me, but would that also research your OneDrive, for instance, on Microsoft OneDrive?
Yeah, OneDrive and SharePoint are very much similar, to be honest. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you would have to have, it would have a OneDrive connector. Again, being fair, ChatGPT as well, you can actually get OneDrive connectors as well in there. Okay. So where can you find Copilot in the Microsoft architecture? I've already touched on this. Microsoft Teams. You can find it in Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. I don't use that anymore, but I've seen it used in there. So if you've got OneNote, you can ask Copilot to do summaries of stuff. Microsoft Loop, Clipchamp, their video processing software, has some AI intelligence. Whiteboard, OneDrive, their Stephen, Planner, and Forms. So they're trying to get it into most of their services. Could actually, don't need that one. So what we're going to have a quick look at is how now Copilot can help us in Word. So we'll go and do a little demo. This is my Word. Now I'm on a business plan. And as Charlie was sort of pointing out, Copilot is making its way in. I do have Copilot up here. Now, there's two ways of accessing Copilot within Word. You can click this little icon here, or you can click this here. Now, if we're drafting a new document, anything really you want to happen on the document, I would use this logo. So what do you want Copilot to draft? So let's say draft me an information document explaining mortgages. Okay, that will do. And Copilot is now going to write us the document within Word for us. And I would suggest if you were doing this, you write a better prompt in terms of like who the audience is, roughly how long you want it to be, what you want it to focus on. But it is written that, and we can review that. We can say keep it. We can tweak it at this point. But for now, we're just going to say keep it. So instantly we have a first draft that we may like. Now, let's say this section, what is a mortgage? We want to be more detailed. So we can just highlight it. Click on the little pen, the rewrite, and we can say, make this more detailed for us. So now we're sort of editing within that draft, and we can see it's now added a lot
That's
more.
amazing. Sorry, but that is amazing.
I do find AI very much follows I said that the Gartner hype cycle when you see stuff, in terms of you see it to start with, you really think, oh my God, this is phenomenal. I haven't read the content it's put out. And then often I find with AI tools, you begin to fall down and think realistically, it's not quite right. So one of the things I said right on the first talk is use it for yourself, see how it works in your workflows. Some things will be amazing. Some things will seem initially amazing. And then actually, when you bring it in, it doesn't seem to help. But I do agree with you, Charlie. At first glance, it does seem pretty cool. OK, so we've now decided that that was OK. Made it more detailed. What we could do is maybe the types of mortgage. Let's have a look at this section. Oh, I need to click keep it. We click on the little logo. And we do have some options that Copilot is suggesting for us. So we could make it shorter, make it more formal, visualize it as a table. Let's see what writing suggestions it wants. So maybe we just didn't like the way it sounded. Copilot is going to try to review it and see if it can rewrite it in a way that we like. Okay, so it's actually assessed it. So clarify financial terms for beginners. So it's almost like a coach actually at this point. I got it a bit wrong. Some terms like capital and interest may not be familiar to all readers. I think that could be a good point. And therefore it's suggesting a change. So we could apply that. Ooh, cross that out.
Good question, Nadine.
Can you ask it to sound less like the workshop or the webinar last week last time we had a look at some strategies you could put in to do that, and maybe you could go back to that recording. But effectively the things that you generally find a little bit are tells for AI, I would suggest right into Copilot, don't do these things. Also, the direction of travel, there was a model released yesterday by OpenAI, GPT 5.1. The reviews are on that it is feeling a lot less AI-like. So there is work going in to make these models sound less AI-like. So it should be getting better and better. Okay.
Also, there was a thing you mentioned last week about when you're asking it for an answer to something, just put at the end of your question, rate your answer by certainty of 1 to 10, where 10 is certain. And very often it goes, I'm 7 out of 10 certain about this, which is a bit better than when it churns out hallucinations.
Yes.
Or
yeah,
churns
exactly.
out certainties when you have your doubts.
Yes, exactly. Another, I think, quite interesting feature here is if you've got a paragraph that's quite numerical heavy, I can just see some numbers here, so I'm just going to use an example. That visualizes a table can be quite useful. So we'll keep that. And now it's broken up that paragraph, how it best sees a table should be produced. Now, if you actually want it to, so we've got this document and it doesn't really seem to have any real live data in it. If we went to Copilot on the side, and you can see I've already tested this. If you said, yeah, do some web research and give me Barclays current mortgage rates, that / in that case was an accident because / does mean something. Here, Copilot is web enabled. It's gone out to these various sources, which you may or may not trust, and it's up to you to verify them. I would have quite liked to have seen some references from Barclays itself. And it's already there. At the moment, I don't think there's a way you can directly get this into the document, but you could just copy and paste it as a new section and then refine it from there. So again, that AI experience is directly in the app. Now, another trick that you can play over here is if you go /, it enables Copilot to see documents that already exist in your SharePoint or OneDrive that may help you when you're drafting the current document you're on. Okay, so if I was just to go on model vehicle sales and then say, it doesn't really make much sense here, but if I was to say, talk about the top performing product in this document, in my Word draft, for instance, that's terribly worded, Copilot can therefore go in there, have a look at what's in that document, use that knowledge in what it's currently working on. Now, Stephen, the reason I mention it here is because this is exactly how it works in Outlook as well. Despite you have to have the enterprise license for Outlook, you would do a /, and what I suggest is you go.
On that note,
yeah.
If I click on the Copilot,
yeah,
that we're also, excuse my ignorance, but that searches ChatGPT because I subscribe to ChatGPT. I pay them 50 odd quid, so I don't need to go to ChatGPT because Copilot will do that for me.
Yeah, so Copilot is separate from ChatGPT in the sense those subscriptions and those companies, if we ignore like the share overlap, are separate. Okay. Copilot uses a model from ChatGPT for its intelligence, but when it's nothing dependent on your subscription with ChatGPT. If you got rid of that subscription, Copilot will still work, and it seems to give us quite a lot just with a business license. Okay.
Okay.
So Microsoft, go.
I just cancel my ChatGPT then.
Except it's on an annual, so you've got to wait for the anniversary.
Well, ChatGPT, I thought their enterprise, I may be wrong, I thought you could come out of that monthly.
I might be.
It's Copilot, you can't come out of monthly. I wouldn't, if I was you, Stephen, I would maybe have a month playing around with both. Copilot, personally, I don't find as intelligent and as good as ChatGPT, despite it being embedded. But those are for the use cases I use it for. The use cases you use it for, you may find it better.
So if I'm subscribing monthly to Microsoft 365, then that gives me a version of Copilot, but whether that is the same as the subscription one is questionable, or is it?
So if you've got 365 Business, this is what I'm currently on. You'll have access to it in Word, PowerPoint, Excel. You won't have access to it in Outlook or Teams.
Okay.
Okay. And a lot of people use, a lot of organizations use Copilot in Teams. It's very good at summarizing meetings, sending agendas based on meetings. It can do real-time translation, lots of stuff like that. But you will be able to get a good feel for if Copilot's working without even paying for an enterprise license.
Okay.
But you do have that enterprise security because it's Microsoft.
Sorry, what did you say the price is of enterprise?
So I think the enterprise is about 20 to 25 pounds per license, so per person per month. Your ChatGPT one should be similar per head per month. You may be. You're a what? Did you say you're a one-man band? There is a possibility. I thought to have an enterprise license with ChatGPT, you needed to have a company of 2 people or more, or have 2 licenses or more. I wonder if you've sort of just had to double up the license because you're only one person. So look into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing you can do from Copilot, let's say you're not working on a document, you've just opened a document, you may want to, in this right-hand side, I know I've just created this document, but imagine it's a new one. I could say, well, give me a bullet point summary of this document, or you could ask it any kind of question that you wanted. Maybe it's a big financial statement and you want to know actually where do they talk about ESG in this document, what are the key ESG concerns, for instance. And it's already I needed to reference it. That's fine. You basically from here you can reference the document and ask questions about it. Okay, so that's Word. I'm going to go to Excel now, unless is there any questions on Word. Okay, now what we're going to do in Excel, I have here a spreadsheet. It's one I often use for demonstrations. It's simulating a company that sell model cars. We have a product table. These are the various, I'll make it a bit bigger for you. These are the various products we have. We have customers. These are the various customers buying the cars. And these are the orders going on. Now, if I open up Copilot on the side, what I'm going to ask it to do, just revisit my notes. I'm going to ask it, so what was the product that gave me the most revenue? Now, it should have access to these 3 sheets in this Excel document. And it's first got to read them because these sheets are actually connected. They've got different information, as in the orders here just has the product code. It doesn't have the product name. So it would have to sort of combine the table here, the product table, to answer this question. Now, what it's done in the side here is told us the product that gave you the most revenue is this one. It gave us $176,000. So pretty good there. What's going on under the hood, you can actually have a look at here. And just, it's actually using a programming language called Python, which is weird because they're not using their own programming language, Microsoft. But just to check what's going on, I can see here it's reading in the orders sheet. So that's that orders tab. It's reading in the products tab. It's reading in the relevant columns, revenue, quantity, unit, price. It's having to generate the revenue column here by multiplying, I guess, the quantity and the unit price. It's merging them together. It's doing logical steps without going through. So takeaway is you can ask questions of your Excel document from within your Excel document. Okay. Now I could just go to my notes again. Let's say in this spreadsheet here, we've got quantity and unit price. And actually what we want to see is maybe the revenue of that row. So we want to see the quantity times by the unit price. And let's say we just didn't know how to do that. So give me the formula for how to calculate the revenue. Now, again, it's bringing in the context from the data. You're not having to tell it what's going on. So to calculate, it's saying we do the revenue. Oh, sorry. We've got the quantity and the unit price. We need to sum these together. Okay, give me the formula, therefore, to go into J2. Give me the formula. I would have expected Copilot to have done that straight away, but again, these AI models, it's a bit like working with animals. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. Here's the formula that I can put in, and I'll be good to go from there. Not sure why that didn't work. F2 times by G2. Oh, it's actually got it wrong, hasn't it? Should be E2 times by F2. So Copilot can get things wrong. So there's been people talking when this came out, or actually was improved a bit on Twitter, of all of that. There's some senior people saying, I've decided not to be learning Excel for the last 15 years, and it's finally paying off because I can just effectively ask an AI my way around Excel. So you can get the formulas that you want. You can actually get it to create graphs for you as well. So let's say create for me a graph, a pivot, or a graph showing the top 10 products by revenue. That should be it. And what it's actually going to do is create the graph in the chat on the side. At the moment, Copilot doesn't have the ability to seem to actually use its own graphing software within Excel to make the graph. It actually has to make the graph using another process, which it's currently doing at the moment. Let's just make that a bit wider. It's got loading well. Okay, so here we have that graph. It's got the car that we saw earlier had the highest revenue, 176,000, and then it's got gradually getting less and less the other products there. And we can save that graph. We could download it as a PNG, and we can also copy it in if we want to leave it in the notebook. But one of the things I'm surprised about is that Microsoft haven't actually built the graph using their own graphing software. So at the moment, it's an image. It's not like an Excel object that you can tweak. Okay, but again, pretty useful. Imagine you've got a slide deck, you quickly need something analyzed and a graph to show to stakeholders. Good. Something else that's worth pointing out, if you work with any kind of maybe messy data, if I was just to change that to small x, I put an x there. If I was then to say, could you review my orders table, specifically deal size for any data quality issues? So I'm not really being specific. And this is more of a concern if you're working with like tens, hundreds of thousands of records. Copilot, I suspect, is likely to point out that there seems to be something a bit strange going on with small and small x. So let's see. Okay. So here it's identified small x possibly is likely to be a problem. Now, in traditional methods of data cleaning, you almost look for data type issues, like there's a number where there should be words, whereas actually the AI has tried to use its own intelligence to say, well, small x could be a category, but given there's only one and there's hundreds in the other categories, that could be an issue for you. So this could be maybe you're putting telephone numbers in, you've got loads of telephone numbers which typically have the same kind of format, same length. You could quickly say, can you see any issues in that? And you don't have to have any data cleaning skills and come up with any sort of clever formulas. Okay. That is a real fly through of Excel. I'm at least half an hour behind on this presentation, which is fine, but any questions?
No.
One of the features of AI generally is, it seems to me, is that it pushes Excel, which has been such an incredible product, to the side. It just trumps Excel. Insofar as you can give it a whole load of data and ask it to produce a chart, and off you go. Here's a chart for you, without ever going anywhere near Excel. But
yes, and I
so
think
sort of this is using AI inside Excel. I suppose you can't avoid Excel, can you? So,
well, that's the thing. I think it's trying to meet, whilst some people will be prepared to do everything from ChatGPT's interface and just deal with the spreadsheet there, we still have a load of legacy of people still wanting to use Excel, still wanting to do, there's too much legacy there. And also, Microsoft have recently done a partnership with Anthropic Claude, who currently have the best AI for working in Excel. Currently, that is not wired up at the moment. So I am expecting significant improvements to Copilot's ability to use Excel in the current month. So yeah, Copilot definitely improving. Let's now go to PowerPoint. And I've seen some improvements here. So if I was just to go create with PowerPoint, or create with Copilot, I want a presentation. So give me, again, I'm just going to stick with presentation, produce beginner presentation on mortgages. Now, you can have the design of your presentation here, and it gives you some templates that you can work with. If you go to Microsoft 365, there could be a few. So there may be, there we go. I like dark theme in general. So select that design. I can run that. And what it's generated 16 slides. It can generate up to 40 for you. And we could click generate slides, and it is going to do its best guess on how to produce a good presentation for us. Give it a second. Whilst that's generating, I'm actually just going to, okay, that's generated, that's fine. Go on spreadsheet mode. I don't want presenter mode, excuse me. Reading view. Sorry, my system is. Okay, so I need to go keep it very first. And I want that view. There we go. So now I have a good draft of a presentation on introduction to mortgages, and it is using Microsoft's template, or it's using the template that we picked, and that is now coherent throughout the slides, and that was missing a few months ago. So that's quite nice. It tries to pick stock images that are appropriate, and then you can review and you can tweak that presentation that you have. Now, we've got Copilot at the side here. So if we wanted to ask questions about the presentation, like we did with the Barclays mortgages, we could do that here in the right-hand side, or if we wanted a summary of an existing presentation. If you want tweaks done to a particular slide, you use this Copilot logo here where my mouse is wiggling around. And you could add a slide, for instance, we've got fixed rate mortgages, just add tracker mortgage slide after this. And we'll be able to insert that slide.
So what about compliance? Does it go to compliance, or is there a compliance kind of research bod in there?
No. Okay. So in terms of compliance, you have absolutely no control. You don't know where it's getting its information from. You could, and I'll demo two things at once here. If you have a template for your company, I put a very basic template on, and I will answer your question as I do this, Stephen. If you start a document from your template and click on this button, you can create a new presentation. And what this does is it uses your slide template to generate the presentation, which actually for businesses, I think can be quite useful. Now, to your point, Stephen, what you can do is you can use that, create a presentation referencing it's not doing it today. Go.
So that forward stroke is searching for from your
for my
database.
It should reference documents that I have available to me. It's not there. So let me just try. I wonder if it's because I was on this template mode. Let's just try a create from scratch with Copilot. Looking. Okay. I'm pretty certain when I demoed this earlier, the behavior should be that you should be able to click / and then pick a document. To answer your question, Stephen, therefore, in terms of compliance, you could point it to a PDF or a document that you already trust on mortgages, or even an Excel file, for instance, and get the presentation to be based on that. And therefore, you have grounded the content a bit more rather than just letting the AI go nuts on it. Okay.
So we could download one of the documents in the document store on BAT relevant to the topic, and then say use this as a guide.
Yes. Yeah. Use this as a guide, pull out the numbers from this, and give me a first draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm conscious of time. Like with all of these sort of in-app tools, let's just get back to that one I had generated. This one. We could, there we go. So we could use that model vehicle cars. We can reference other content. So I could say, again, produce me a pie graph of the sales quantity by region. And let's say I wanted that analysis done from that Excel because I want the graph, because I want to drop that into my PowerPoint. So what Microsoft are working on is almost this ability to have AI intelligence access documents everywhere in all of the apps for you to have access to the things that you may want when working on the presentation. So again, you may have company accounts for this month. You're doing a presentation or a summary of what's going on. You don't want to have to go into Excel and open that up. So you can just reference it. And hopefully here we're going to get a pie graph. It's given us the table of the total sales by region. I saw that there, come on. It's just rendering, I think. Okay, there's the table. So we could copy that out could copy that and just place it onto there. I should be able to. There we go. And we may have to crop it, etc. But we've done that analysis effectively from inside PowerPoint by referencing Excel. Okay. So
does it feel to you like it's slightly defensive, like it's a bit like putting an engine on a horse and cart? Just out of just a sort of, you know, in your experience.
Slightly defensive. What do you mean?
Well, a defensive move by Microsoft to try and keep people using their tools, using, you know, you know, we don't want them moving off PowerPoint. So I'm thinking this AI has sort of pushed a lot of these tools to the side. Yeah, so to speak.
I think, and I also question sometimes, this is cool. It's a nice feature, but actually how difficult was it? If I do that pie graph, I'm going to have to know that spreadsheet pretty well in my head. Usually when I'm doing analysis, I want to actually see what I'm working on for the graphs. That makes sense. To be able to just have that, I know exactly what's in that and I know exactly what I want. I don't even need to see it, just give it to me. In this case, it works, but often, how often does that happen in what you're working with? So these are nice examples, but again, think about how useful it is in your workflow and could I just go into Excel? Okay. Okay, now back to the slides, which I must admit I'm years behind on now. But that's my own timing.
Sorry. It's typical when you have the fewer people you have in a seminar, the more people ask questions and the slower you go. And the more people there are, everybody shuts up because nobody wants to be thought of as a fool.
Questions are good. And it's just going to move. This will do. I think it's important to show you what Copilot can do because it is that real embedded AI experience. So I was happy we spent longer there. Microsoft Teams and the other organizations I work for, this is actually, I find Copilot inside Teams is really quite useful. If you're joining a Teams call, you can use Copilot to actually question what's gone on in that call. If you join it late, you can question what's gone on with the stuff I've missed. At the end of the call, you can have like, what are the actions for various people? And it will pull out that. It will actually do live language to language translation. So if you're talking, this may be relevant for you, Charlie, talking to someone in Spain, there is a feature if you have Copilot Enterprise that can put on real-time language translation and you have some weird, it translates English to Spanish or it does loads of languages. So I think Teams is a real good place actually they've done quite a good job in my opinion on making Copilot useful there, especially if you're in lots of back-to-back meetings and you can refer back to them as well. What went on in this meeting? Think client meetings. If you have regularly monthly meetings and you may forget what happened at the last meeting, you could just quickly go into that Teams meeting, Copilot, what were the key points of this meeting? Remind me any information. Okay, good. Now, last 2 minutes, I'm just going to introduce to what Copilot Studio can do. I'm going to move over that slide. Can I make that bigger? No, I can't. So what it enables you to do is really customize an AI tool for a certain workflow that may be useful. So you can give it certain sources of knowledge already that this tool is always going to have these documents to look at. You can create certain topics in that. So for instance, if someone's interacting with that bot and they start talking about compliance, the chatbot can be instructed to behave differently. It can be instructed, now I recognize we're talking about compliance. I need to now be referencing these documents really carefully, and everything I say must be grounded in and cited in information because this is a sensitive topic. These bots have lots of connections, these plugins, so you can connect it to Excel, you can connect it to Power Automate runs the whole thing. You can connect it to lots of different Microsoft tools all together. So for an example, maybe you're creating a bot to do just data cleaning. Well, the connection there would be open this up in Excel, and filter this data so that it rejects any phone numbers that are longer than 9 digits, and then output that somewhere else. So it can connect to lots and lots of tools, and not just Microsoft tools. It can connect to third-party tools, loads of connectors. Once you've built that bot, you can publish it in your organization. So you can publish it to a Teams channel. People can just click on it. Or you can actually publish it to various websites or have it integrated in your own website as well. You may need a developer to just do that last bit, but you can definitely create the bot with minimal coding skills. Just thinking about a possible workflow for this. Maybe you have this custom bot on your website created through Copilot Studio. A new client is interacting with your website, and this bot may ask, could you give us some documents on your verification? The bot has recognized in the workflow we're talking to a new client who's interested in our services, so they have to upload their documentation. It also, the bot asks them questions about their financial profile and anything they're concerned about compliance. You then, once have that information, the bot is instructed with certain things that it has to do to it, and then the bot can be instructed after that stage that this has now been emailed to an advisor who will be contacting you with a detailed follow-up because all of this information has been pre-processed. You can design all of this without any coding skills, just logic and connectors. The final bit to put it on your website would require a little bit of help, but Copilot Studio is designed to be low code way of creating custom AI tools. Now, we don't have time for the bit on Google, but Google Gemini's experience very similar in enterprise version as Microsoft Copilot, if you're with Google. I think that I'm at time anyway, Charlie, but I'm happy to stay on the call if there's any questions, but I realise we're at time.
Well,
No, I've learned a lot.
Full marks for staying on time.
Just stop. Yeah, if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. But I think we got through. I just really want to show you Copilot in app and what that may or may not be able to do for you.
Because Stephen was sort of vaguely mentioned it really. I mean, it's and I asked you this last time. There's all these tools and they all do so many different things. It's like we haven't, none of us have got time to have 4 or 5 tools laid out and think, oh well, let's use that one. No, let's use that one. So we have to sort of, you pay your money, you take your choice. So it's slightly, I've signed up to OpenAI. I think we're in for a year. I know we're in for a year. So that's that, So but
my personal opinion is OpenAI. So ChatGPT products and Claude products give you the most intelligent kind of responses. There's been a lot of criticism with, if I just go back to this diagram. Here. When you write your prompt into Copilot, Copilot is using an OpenAI model. It's using GPT-5, their latest model, but Microsoft changed the message to meet their policies, their guidelines, so that actually the message that you send does not actually go to the same, or does not remain in its same form by the time it gets to the model, which is why ChatGPT often feels a lot better. For instance, Microsoft, they won't say this on their documentation, but you can infer it. They say keep the messages to within 8,000 words long. ChatGPT's model can take around 100,000 words. What this is telling us is Microsoft Copilot actually don't want to be paying for the cost of processing long messages. So they're probably truncating it or using other techniques to keep the cost down. But as a result, if you were sending it 100,000 words of good context, lots of documents, lots of stuff, Copilot doesn't actually have all the information there. So generally, I think heavy users of AI prefer ChatGPT and Claude to the the embedded experience. Big organizations want their staff, though, using Microsoft Copilot because it's so much easier for governance. It's within that Microsoft architecture. They can easily see what everyone is doing. They can see exactly how many people are using it in Word. There's a lot more controls that a big organization has when using something like Microsoft Copilot. But personally speaking, I think the frontier labs like your OpenAIs and your Anthropics do models better, or do the output better.
So is it a bit like Chinese whispers?
How do you mean?
They're changing the message.
Yes. Yeah. And all
Wow.
of them will change the message to some degree. A good example that went very badly for Google, beginning of 20, maybe a year and a half ago, if you'd asked Google to generate a historical image of a Nazi officer, this was a model a year and a half ago, it would give you images of black people as Nazi officers, women as Nazi officers, and white people, and the kind of people who are historically most likely to be it. What Google was doing is they had inserted underneath your message, give me this image, we have a diversity policy where the images that you present have to represent the entire population. And therefore, they were sort of changing history a bit and got a lot of pushback. But that is an example of all of the model providers are tweaking the message with their own frameworks to achieve what they want.
Yeah.
And Microsoft typically do it with more of a corporate slant. So they will be very defensive. You can't get as much creativity out of Copilot as you can out of ChatGPT.
That's very good. Very
but
interesting.
no, they don't publish it. So that's another thing.
No.
So
okay. Right. That's brilliant.
Well, no, I hope that was interesting, and thank you for your questions.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
See you
Take care.
again. Cheers. Bye.